Hurricane Milton has left Florida in a state of massive destruction. From the moment the Category 5 storm made landfall on the Gulf Coast to its trek across the state, the devastation has been relentless. Milton, with winds exceeding 155 miles per hour and one of the most intense storm surges in the state's history, ravaged entire cities, left millions without power, and turned the coastal landscapes into a chaotic scene of debris. Miami, one of the first major cities to feel the full brunt of the hurricane, was hit brutally. The city's iconic avenues, once bustling with life, were deserted as powerful winds shattered windows, uprooted trees, and flipped over cars. The palm trees, a symbol of the tropical paradise and tourism, were torn from their roots, while older buildings, unprepared for a storm of this magnitude, collapsed under Milton's fury. The famous Ocean Drive was completely flooded, with the ocean invading the city and reaching unprecedented levels. The storm surge was particularly devastating for Florida's coastal areas. Cities like Naples and Fort Myers witnessed the sea advancing several miles inland, destroying homes, businesses, and roads. The water, moving at a terrifying speed, left little time for safe evacuation. Entire families found themselves trapped in their homes, climbing to rooftops to escape the rising waters, while the wind howled around them like a wild beast. Aerial footage reveals a landscape that no longer resembles what it once was before the storm. Tampa, on the state's west coast, also suffered greatly. A city historically spared from the worst of hurricanes due to its position in the bay, Tampa could not escape Milton's wrath. Seawater flooded entire neighborhoods, and hurricane-force winds knocked down power lines, trees, and even commercial structures. Residents were left without power and communication, as local authorities struggled to access the hardest-hit areas due to debris blocking roads. In central Florida, cities like Orlando, which are typically a refuge for those fleeing coastal storms, were also severely impacted. The lightning storms accompanying Milton lit up the sky with flashes that revealed the extent of the damage. Massive trees were uprooted and fell onto houses, roads, and power lines, plunging much of central Florida into darkness. The theme parks, normally the economic engine of the city, remain closed indefinitely as damage assessments and repairs are conducted. But the impact of Milton wasn't confined to major cities. Florida's rural communities, reliant on agriculture and fishing, experienced devastation of epic proportions. Fields of crops, ready for harvest, were washed away by the water and violent winds. Small family farms lost everything: crops, animals, and homes. Along the coast, fishing boats, the lifeblood of many families, were smashed to pieces on the docks, leaving these communities without a means to make a living in the immediate future. Hurricane Milton didn't just leave millions of people homeless or with severely damaged homes. It also left a trail of uncertainty about how and when they will rebuild their lives. Emergency shelters are overcrowded, and rescue services are working tirelessly to reach the most affected areas. However, conditions for rescue teams are extremely dangerous. Roads are impassable, downed power lines pose a constant threat, and the scale of the flooding makes access to many areas nearly impossible. State and federal authorities have declared Florida a disaster zone. Aerial images reveal widespread destruction, entire neighborhoods submerged underwater, highways destroyed, and cities that look like they've been hit by a tsunami. Humanitarian aid is beginning to arrive, but the recovery process is expected to take months, if not years. The economic damage is incalculable. In terms of infrastructure alone, the state faces billions of dollars in losses. The psychological impact is also profound. Families who have lost everything are in shock, facing the reality that their homes and communities have been destroyed. Children, who can barely comprehend what has happened, are traumatized by the sound of the howling winds and the chaos the storm has left behind. The scenes of destruction are etched into the memories of everyone who lived through this catastrophe. Despite everything, Florida's resilience is beginning to shine. Entire communities are working together to overcome this tragedy. Neighbors are helping neighbors, sharing food, water, and shelter. Stories of heroism and solidarity are emerging as people face the devastation with a mindset of rebuilding and hope. Volunteers from across the country are arriving, bringing supplies and support to the hardest-hit communities. Hurricane Milton has left an indelible mark on Florida, and its passage through the state will be remembered as one of the most destructive events in hurricane history. But, as has happened in the past, Florida will rise again. The scars will remain for a long time, but the determination of the people to rebuild and reclaim what was lost will be the true story that emerges from this tragedy.